Right. This is the Ensoniq VFX SD. It differs from the original VFX in that it has a sequencer and a disk drive. The disk drive is very useful if you want to back up your stuff because the cartridge slot, which here is empty, you can get the cartridges, but they're what, $50, $60, and it allows you to access sequences and patches. However, the machine out of the box comes with 120 patches in total, 60 in RAM and 60 in ROM, and they're arranged in 10 banks of 6 patches each. Each patch is made up of 6 oscillators. Actually, the oscillators themselves are individual synths with their own envelope, their own LFO, effect send, pitch mod, you name it. So you can have up to 6 oscillators under one patch. I'll just describe the overview very quickly, and then I'll play some sounds. There's 3 modes of operation. There's a performance mode, there's a sequencer mode, and there's the programming mode. I will only be demonstrating individual sounds. I won't be looking at performance mode or the sequencer. There are 21 voices of polyphony. So as I said, if you get this first patch here, and you've got 6 sub-patches, you might run out of voices, but you know, I generally don't use all 6 available oscillator slots. 2 or 3 is usually enough. There's a couple of problems that these keyboards are renowned for. One is the low battery sign. I believe it's a hardwired battery which you can replace quite easily. So it says on YouTube if you look at the how-to videos. And the other issue was the keyboard strips which run underneath the keyboard. There were 2. One for the right, one for the left, and they were connected in the middle, and that connector got pressed down on a lot because this machine has polyphonic aftertouch. So pressing down a lot on those keys actually loosened the connector between the 2 strips, and that would mess up the keyboard calibration. Again, there's a how-to video on YouTube telling you how to repair that. I definitely think it's worth having if you're into synths. This is definitely a gem. It's part of the ESQ1 and SQ80 line of synths. There's a lot of similarities, and those synths are very popular. But the VFX SD can be had, I found, to be much cheaper than the ESQ1. The sounds I'll be playing use the internal effects, and I think I'll just sit down and play. Oh, since I don't have aftertouch, mine has been disabled. So you don't press down on the keys and loosen that connector. I use a foot controller. I have the Ensoniq foot controller, which I can use to fade in and out any of the mods that the aftertouch would be assigned to. So I'll play some sounds and put some descriptions of the sound on the screen here. Okay. did that one. I'm going to 6. 6. Okay, 7, 1. This is the programming section. As you can see, there's all the parameters are laid out in a grid there. Anything with the lines over the top, like the LFO, the envelopes, means the editing has multiple pages. There's only one LFO, as you can see, but because the pitch mod, as you can see right there, second row down, anything can be assigned to modulate the pitch. So let's just look at that. If I click on the pitch mod, it'll take you to the pitch mod page. And as you can see, the mod source here is the LFO. But you could quite easily change that. Just scroll through. You could have envelope 1 modulating the pitch, envelope 2, the noise, the mixer, which is a combination of parameters put together, velocity, the keyboard itself, timbre, which is a setting in the system panel, pedal, which is the one I use a lot, pitch, to modulate the pitch. That's interesting. And then there's X control, which is an assignable external MIDI control. You assign which CC number you want, and that would control the pitch. This is pressure and volume. These are the different wheels pressure that you get. As I said, my pressure has been disabled on this keyboard just to preserve longevity of the actual instrument itself. The envelopes, if we just look at the envelopes, there are 3 envelopes and they're all identical. Envelope 1 is generally routed directly to pitch. Envelope 2 is generally used to modulate the filters. And envelope 3 is generally used for the amplifier. That's just the way I use it because it keeps everything simple. So if we look at envelope 1, again, it brings up the envelope page. The only thing I would say about these envelopes is that it's a little bit confusing in that it uses levels and times. Here you can see there's the initial level, then it goes to the peak, first break, second break, and then sustain. If we press the envelope page again, it'll take us to the next one, which is the times. Now it's a bit confusing because attack doesn't necessarily mean the attack, it can mean the decay. So as I said, I basically drew myself a diagram to help understand these, and sometimes you don't need all those stages. You can just switch decay 2, decay 3 to 0. There's the standard release, and if we press envelope one more time, we'll get to the third page, which is the keyboard tracking, the velocity curve. There's multiple velocity curves to choose from. The mode, there's 3 modes. You can actually have it on repeat, which is useful if you want to create an additional LFO. That's where it comes in handy to have a repeating envelope, because then you can have one of the envelopes modulate the pitch. And then you can also have the LFO modulate the pitch. Let's just go back to that pitch mod page and see that set up there. As you can see, the pitch mod, here it is. There's the mod source is set to envelope 1, but if we set it to the LFO, we still have an additional parameter underneath. As you can see, actually there's a separate parameter for LFO. So you could have envelope 1, the LFO, and a third one, say velocity. Velocity. So now you've got 3 different modulations of the pitch. The velocity is modulating, so is the envelope 1 and LFO. And as I said, you could easily have envelope 1 set up as an LFO once you figured out the shape of the envelope, and then just repeat it. All 3 envelopes are identical. They all have the same parameters. Pitch is the general pitch page. There you can see your octave, semitone up and down, and then the fine tuning. There is, you can use the system tuning, which is a standard equal temperament tuning, or you could use a custom tuning, or if I switch this, you can also put it to all the notes are C4, which means they all just play one pitch, which is useful when you want to create special effects. For example, you could set them up to be all C4, but use the pitch mod to create your own type of tuning. So that's pitch, and then because there's the pitch mod, the modulation mixer basically combines two other parameters. Here we have source 1 as the timbre, source 2 as pressure and velocity, and then there's a kind of a shape that combines them, and then how much they're combined by. This is kind of trial and error. I didn't really find a real great system of working on this, so trial and error, but certainly when you combine these things together, they form a single modulation source that you can use to modulate anything else. Program control, the filters, doesn't have resonant filters, but it does have resonant waveforms that you can sweep. A quick word about the waveforms. If you select wave, you'll see here that this particular wave is what they call Dr. X, and it's in the category of trans waves. The trans waves are waves which change over time. Here I've started at the 17th segment into the wave, but I've modulated the wave by envelope 2 by this amount. So even though it's a static waveform in that it just plays through, you can modulate it, start anywhere you want, and then modulate backwards and forwards. Again, if you use the looping envelope, you will basically sweep backwards and forwards. And the trans wave, there's quite a few to choose from. They have 1, Dr. X, enharmonic 1, synchro, and then, so these are all the ones that you can modulate backwards and forwards throughout the waveform. The funky sounding one, where it seems to trigger everything, is basically, that's what it's doing. You can see I'm scrolling through the groups of waveforms. I don't really think this is so great on emulating sounds, but it's certainly fantastic for creating synthesized sounds. Let's just go, here's the multi-wave, there you go. So all waves, that's the one that was making it sound funky. You can start anywhere in the loop and then have the length, and it will just loop round and round and round that segment. And again, here it is looping forward. All the waves can be delayed. If I go to my string patch, which I used at the beginning, that's the string I was using at the beginning, and if you go to select voice, you can see the sawtooth, 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 sawtooth strings, which has parentheses around it. That means it's not being used. And the final sawtooth. So this actually uses 5 sawtooth waveforms to get that string sound. And each, as I said, each waveform has its own parameters over here. The programming, all of this can apply to just one of these waveforms. And so what I've got is I've got the pedal set up to modulate different things in different waveforms so that nothing sounds the same. So if I just play a quick chord here, let's see if I can get this in, a quick chord, as I swell with it's changing the pitch, it's changing the speed of the LFO on some of them, it's opening and closing the filter, it's panning it, it's doing all kinds of crazy things. So that's it. There's a lot to this machine that I haven't covered, but I just had to put this video out, otherwise I'll never ever finish doing it. Thanks for watching.